Today we're taking a look at a vehicle that's not just familiar to me, it's actually kind of personal. Back in 2018, I bought a Volkswagen Atlas, not a press loan, not a tester. I actually bought one. It was a base model with the V6 engine, something you don't get today, cloth seats, no frills, no bells, no whistles. And I got it for just under $30,000. That SUV hauled my family, our stuff, and a lot of memories. It was practical and comfortable, and for the price, it was hard to beat. Fast forward to 2025, and I'm behind the wheel of this Atlas, the Peak Edition. It's rugged looking, all-wheel drive, and loaded with tech. And a price just over $48,000, almost 20 grand more than what I paid for my Atlas. So is this still the family-friendly SUV I remember, or has the Atlas evolved into something totally different? I'm Adam, this is TexasGarage. Let's get into it. All right, before we go any further though, let's quickly talk about the trims offered for 2025 here. Again, what I'm driving is the Peak Edition, which isn't the top of the line. So we start off with an SE, which again, whenever I bought my Atlas, the very base trim was the S, and you could get that with the V6. But now the base is an SE, and all trims only come with a 2-liter turbo. We'll get into that later. You can upgrade the SE with a technology package. Then you get into the Peak Edition trim. And then you have the SEL and the SEL Premium R line at the very top of the line. Again, all of them have the same powertrain, some offered in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. The Peak Edition is only offered in the 4Motion all-wheel drive. Let's go ahead and take a look at the exterior design, see what you get for the 2025 Peak Edition. Starting with the front, this Peak Edition gets a rugged new face. You've got a gloss black grille with a bold X design element down low, chrome accents, a silver faux skid plate, and a pretty cool illuminated Volkswagen badge, front and rear. And that wraps into the full light bar. This color is called Avocado Green Pearl, which sounds like a paint job straight from a taco truck, but honestly, it works. Especially with the black 18-inch wheels and all-terrain tires. The tires are chunky enough to give the Atlas some attitude, but they're still road-focused. Around the side, you've got black mirror caps, window trim, roof rails, and a Peak Edition badge in orange and chrome. All little touches, but together they give this trim its own personality. Around back, the same rugged theme continues. Black trim, a silver rear diffuser, chrome exhaust bezels, not real exhaust tips, and the Volkswagen badge lights up too, which is just cool. Pop the power lift gate and you've got 20.6 cubic feet of space behind the third row. Fold that down and you get 55.5 cubic feet. And with all 3 rows flat, you're looking at 96.6 cubic feet of usable space. That's more than the Telluride or the Pilot, and almost on par with the Traverse and Grand Highlander, making this one of the best bang for the bucks you can get if you're looking for interior cargo volume. And the space is actually usable even with the third row up. I could still fit a stroller, a full grocery run, backpacks, whatever you need. Closing up the rear hatch and moving on to the engine, let's pop that hood. Volkswagen has simplified things here. One engine across the board. It's a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4, making 269 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque, paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. And in our case with the Peak Edition, we do have the 4Motion all-wheel drive. Now, if you watched the earlier Atlas reviews, and I've already mentioned it here, I had the V6 Atlas, and quite frankly, I missed it. This turbocharged 4 isn't bad. It's quick off the line, and the torque is available low, but in this Peak Edition, it just feels and sounds louder than I remember in other Volkswagen models, and not a good loud. It's not the refined V6 growl I had. It's more like a buzzy whine, something I noticed immediately, but not just me, also other people that got in the car with me. Fuel economy though, with this 2-liter turbo is pretty good. about 20 miles per gallon combined with the all-wheel drive and all-terrain tires. I've actually been averaging over 21 miles to the gallon, so it will depend on how you drive it. But with that, let's go ahead and move on to the interior. Inside, Volkswagen continues its rugged look with black leatherette materials, orange stitching, and metallic-like patterns. There's also stainless steel pedal caps, Peak Edition badging, and ambient lighting with 30 color choices. It's not luxury grade, but it's not cheap either, especially compared to that base Atlas that I owned with the cloth seats and kind of cheap materials. Although, that's exactly why I bought the base. Let me pick you up and give you a good look around. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look around the interior. Let's start by kicking it on. Obviously, we do have push button start here. And that brings the car to life. And the first thing you should notice is the 12-inch, much larger multi-function display. And I say multi-function because looking around, there are no knobs, there are no other real buttons. Everything's controlled through the screen, which I don't always mind, but in this case, I definitely miss having the knobs for the AC and heat controls. You do have a quick button here to go to climates, and then you've got all your climate controls up here, which is fine. And you do have some quick buttons here for your seats, and then some quick buttons here for changing your temperature. But if you're doing other things on the display, it's easy to rest and hit this, which is not great. I would 100% change back to a smaller display with a bunch of physical knobs. And I don't say that for every vehicle, but in this one, it does make sense to me. Coming back down to our display down here, you do have some of your driver assist buttons on the quick menu, parking assist on a quick menu, drive modes on a quick menu, and again, your climate control. Looking at that parking again, that brings up your camera. Now you do have a backup camera and 360-ish monitors. That's another small gripe I have about this Atlas Peak Edition. For an off-roader and a bigger vehicle, I'd really love to see a full 360 camera here, but we don't get it. Looking again at those drive modes, you have Eco, you have Comfort, you have Sport, you have a custom mode, an off-road mode, and a snow mode. All really great, and it does adjust things within the vehicle to match that mode. But for the most part, I either drove it in Eco or Comfort throughout the week. Coming down below that, you do have a wireless charger here, and it is a rubberized surface. It's not hard to hit the charging portion, but it would be nice if it was a bit tighter for your phone or had magnets in it or something. You also have 2 USB charging ports, and these do interface with the infotainment system. And plugging in your phone does give you Apple CarPlay. And of course, you do have Android Auto support. Continuing to move back, you do have cup holders. And then your electronic transmission is here with this small control, something we've seen in other recent Volkswagen products. And just like in those, you push all the way back for reverse. That brings up your backup camera. This way for drive, push a little bit for neutral. Park is right here, and I still continue to find myself just pushing the start-stop button whenever I parked, which automatically shifts it into park and kills the vehicle. Sure, not really what they intended there, and I never really intend to do it, but since they're so close, I just find myself always hitting it. And then back behind here, you do have your electronic parking brake. We've got a small cubby here behind, and then our armrest. Decently padded there, nice orange stitching, leather, and a really good size with another USB-C charging port down there. Moving on to the steering wheel, you do have the Peak Edition badge there. All your controls that you would assume to have. You do have paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, your buttons for your lighting array. Your buttons for your lighting arrangement are over here with your front poor weather lighting system, which honestly, I'm still not sure exactly what it does. And that brings us to the full digital cockpit. And of course, this can be changed through different looks with different information displayed. And you've got plenty of different things to scroll through here. My suggestion is just pick something that you're familiar with, so when you look down, you can find what you're looking for. It took me entirely too long to find the fuel gauge down here when I was looking for it as I was driving one time. Looking at the rearview mirror, it is just a mirror, no fancy backup camera action going on there. And then we do have a full panoramic moonroof with a tilting and slide back sunroof. All very nice if it's not 100 degrees outside. And the last thing is some of the ambient lighting in here is really nice. And you do have the Peak Edition nameplate kind of shining through the passenger side console. Definitely a nice place to be here in the interior, even at night. And obviously we've got to talk about the rear seats. Now again, I bought this because it was a large 3-row family vehicle. This is a 7-passenger vehicle, so you got 2 in the very back, 3 in the middle, and 2 in the front. Easy to get into the rear seats. The middle seats are really spacious. The very rear seats, they pass, especially for smaller kids. But even being an adult in the middle seat, I had no issues. I'm 6'1", a bigger guy, and really it fits me just fine. This is 3-zone climate control, so the rear seats do get their own climate control. And you've got shades that come up on those windows. No heated seats in the middle row, but you do got USB charging in the 3rd and 2nd row. All great things for a family vehicle. With that, let's go ahead and take this thing out for a drive. On the road, the 2025 Atlas Peak Edition delivers a driving experience that feels consistent with the Atlas DNA, confident, composed, and easy to manage for its size. The suspension setup is tuned more for comfort than agility, which suits its role for a family hauler, and it soaks up rough pavement well enough. Sort of the biggest letdown with the drive, something that I always felt and always talked about with the old Atlas, continues to be its steering feel. Like past Atlas models I've driven, including the one I owned, the steering is overly light and numb, which isn't the case for other Volkswagen crossovers, but is the case here, and can leave you feeling disconnected, especially at highway speeds or even maneuvering tight spaces. It's something you eventually adapt to, but it's also something that Volkswagen hasn't addressed. And again, every time I get out of a Volkswagen, drive something else, and get back into the Volkswagen, it's the first thing I notice. Power comes from that 2-liter turbocharged engine. Again, 269 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. It looks good on paper, and in light cruising, it does fine. That said, the 8-speed automatic transmission shifts smoothly and keeps things manageable in day-to-day driving. I also had the chance to take the Peak Edition down a longer dirt back road to see how the Volkswagen's 4Motion all-wheel drive system handled low traction conditions. Obviously, this isn't tough off-roading or anything, but if you're taking this thing on a camping trail, it's a decent test. The system performed confidently with the off-road mode adjusting throttle response and stability control to make things feel more predictable on loose surfaces. It's not a trail-rated SUV, but for camping trips, gravel roads, or bad weather, 4Motion adds real peace of mind. Pair that with the 5,000-pound towing capacity, and I could absolutely see this being a great rig for pulling a small camper or utility trailer out to a campsite. Though, to be clear, I've never personally towed with an Atlas, including this one. It's just the kind of capability that fits the vibe this trim is going for. In the end, the Atlas Peak Edition isn't trying to be sporty or luxurious, and that's okay. It's meant to be capable, comfortable, and adventurous looking, all while being able to hold the full family, and it mostly hits those notes. The ride is smooth, the all-wheel drive adds confidence, and while the engine is noisier than I'd like, it gets the job done. With that, let's pull over and talk about the price and some of the competition. All right, so we kind of mentioned it before already, but let's talk about the price of the Atlas. Base price for the base SE trim is $38,000 or just over. And again, the base price whenever I bought my 2018 was $30,000. I think with the V6 it was $32,000, but I actually got a pretty good discount whenever I bought it because they were already discounting them. And we paid $28,000, which I still think is an amazing deal for families. This one, the Peak Edition, which again is not the top of the line Atlas, starts just over $46,000, and this one with Destination is just over $48,000. That's a $20,000 difference from what I bought, but still pretty much in line with or even cheaper than a lot of the competition out there still. There is a lot more competition in the 3-row SUV space than there was whenever I bought the Atlas. The 2018 Atlas predated the Telluride. The Palisade was already out. Obviously you had a Pilot, but the Pilot wasn't that great at that time. But taking a look at its top 3 competitors today, starting with the Telluride, you do get an off-road trim in the Telluride, which is also really good. And actually the cargo space behind the 3rd row is just slightly more, but the cargo space of the full interior is less than this Atlas. So you do get more space in the 3rd row and 2nd row for the Atlas than you do the Telluride. Kind of the same story with the Honda Pilot. Again, the Honda Pilot now comes with an off-roading trim, and it's really good. I've spent time with it. I've driven it. It has slightly more volume behind the 3rd row than this does, but less overall volume. You can also look at the Grand Highlander from Toyota. Also a nice 3-row large crossover, and that comes with hybrid models. If you're looking for fuel efficiency, it's a great choice, but it is more expensive than what you would be getting in the Volkswagen. And then you have the Chevy Traverse, which does have a Z71 package. It is the largest cargo volume of all of them, so it does have a little bit more than this, but it's also heavier, feels bulkier to drive, but is a pretty good contender if you're into buying Chevy vehicles. So obviously, even with the higher price, I think the Volkswagen Atlas is still a great competitor. Let me jump out and I'll give you some of my final thoughts. So that's my take on the 2025 Atlas Peak Edition. It's bigger, louder, and way more expensive than the Atlas I owned, but still gets the basics right. Big space, good comfort, light off-roading capabilities, nice boxy styling, and now some much needed personality. If you want an even deeper breakdown and even more of my opinions and a little bit of nostalgia talk, check out the full written review on TXGarage.com. The link will be down in the description. As always, hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We do a different review every week. And like I said, check out TXGarage.com for written reviews as well as event and news coverage from a lot of great authors, not just myself. Really worth checking out, TXGarage.com. With that, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching.